Hey guys, in this video I'm going to show you how to come up with set lists for playing live solo gigs. Since I've been putting out more tips on playing live solo gigs, this has actually been one of the greatest questions lately. So I'm going to give you all that in this video. This is going to help you come up with songs, come up with your set list, and also give you some tips on what I use to compile these set lists as well. So I've got three key components here. First, I'm going to share the hardware and software that I use for my set list, both creating them and of course on stage. Now secondly, we're going to go over the set lists themselves. I've got some really helpful tips for you in how to compile your set list and how to arrange them. Lastly, we're going to talk about song choice, and you might be surprised on how I handle my song choices. Now this is quite common, but I just use a regular iPad on stage, okay? And the app that I use might surprise you. It is nothing fancy. I just use the Apple Pages app. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute here, but also I wanted to share the iPad holder real quick. Not sponsored by this company, but this is the Licks Pro iPad holder. I believe I got this from Sweetwater, and it has proven to be sturdy. I've looked at some other iPad holders or tablet holders, and they just look really flimsy. But this thing has proven to be very sturdy, and also, if for whatever reason my iPad ever failed on me, which thank God it has not, this has adjustable arms here, so I could easily fit a phone, an iPhone in there as well, so I wouldn't totally be hosed if something were to happen to the iPad. So back to the Apple Pages app. And again, I'm going to explain why I don't go with any of the premium services out there. There are a lot of different services and they're great, a lot of different apps out there, but I use the Apple Pages. One reason though is it's just always there in my cloud drive. We're on all Apple devices in our household. My wife and I, we have iPhones, and of course I have the Mac laptop and the iMac. So anywhere I update that file, which is usually not on the iPad, I usually update the file, adding songs to it and that sort of thing. I usually do that on the laptop, the MacBook Pro, or my iMac. It's just easier to work in those. So that file is always updated. So that's one of the beauties of using the Apple Pages app. And here, once we open up the app, you can see I've got my songs listed here. Now, what these are in the Pages app, and I'm not going to dig too deep into how to use Apple Pages. It's pretty simple, but what I do is I make the song a header. What you're seeing now is basically the table of contents. That's the song list there. But each song is a header, and of course that page is dedicated to that song with the lyrics and some of the chords, which I'll get to in a second here. But it's fairly simple just to kind of scroll through. Now, one little trick here is I also make the set list itself. You'll see set 1, and I'll have a set 2, set 3, and so forth. That is a header as well. So when I click on that little hamburger thing there and I see the menu, well, I'll see set 1 as a header, okay? So I know that's where set 1 starts, that next song. As you can see, I can click on the actual set itself and it takes me to that page. Now, naturally, I wouldn't click on set 1 or set 2. I would just click on the song that I see next because I know that's the first song in that particular set. But anyway, this just makes the workflow a little bit easier. And if I wanted to skip around, let's say I didn't want to go set 1 to set 2, what if I want to go from set 1 to, let's say, set 4? Well, I'll just go back up to the menu, scroll down to set 4, and then choose that first song in that set. So let's talk about the page for each song. What do I have listed on here? So I've got the song title, and again, the song title is a header. That's the format, so that again, it shows up in the menu as a menu item, so it's easy to get to that. So I've got the song title, the artist, and you can see here it's supposed to say Men at Work, but it says Me at Work. That's a typo, but hey, it is kind of me at work here. And then I've got some notes in regards to the key of the song and or the progression. In this case, I just have the key. I know this song pretty well. I already knew it before I put it on my set list, so I just list the key of B minor. That's the main key of the song here. Now, if we scroll down to another song like Summer of '69, so we've got some chords down here. I know it's in the key of A, and I know the chords, so I don't need that on the iPad, but I always had a problem with the bridge. So I'll list out little problem points, right? For some reason, I wanted to go to the F for that first chord of the bridge, but no, Jason, it starts with C. So I had to put that in there to get it in my head and, of course, in my hands, I guess. Now, why did I use the Apple Pages app and not some premium service like the Ultimate Guitar, for example? I think it's what's called, Ultimate Guitar. The reason is I want to keep things as simple as I possibly can. Now, these other premium apps, they're great to use. I'm not saying you shouldn't use them. I've seen another artist using one. I'm like, man, this is cool. You can transpose the song and all that good stuff right here. Some of the apps will even have the song flowing like as you go through the song. But to me, I don't need like all the lyrics all the time, and I don't need to see every little chord over every line where that chord changes. If I have to look at it to that extent, then I should not be playing the song live. I'm not ready to play it live. I only consider the iPad as a safeguard. I don't want to rely on the iPad to know the whole song and to play the whole song looking down at the iPad the entire time. Again, if you have to do that, then you're probably not ready to play the song live. Now, there's an argument to be made for, okay, well, if somebody requests something and I don't know it, I can go to the app. But I will talk about requests. We're going to talk about that at the end of the video. But again, the Apple Pages app, I've got my title of the song, and I've got just a few notes for the progression or the key if I need them. I don't always need that. And then I've got just the lyrics, right? And even with the lyrics, I don't have all of them there. It's just a safeguard so that I can focus on the performance and not have to worry about, oh crap, I'm not sure how this song starts or what the first line of the second chorus is. Usually I can look down and just see that first word. Okay, got it. And I believe you need to be that comfortable with the song before performing it live. Again, you don't want to have to look down at the iPad throughout the entire performance. Now, the only downfall that I see to using something like Apple Pages is if I want to rearrange my set list, which we're about to get into in the next tip here. But when you have to start rearranging songs, then you have to cut and then paste. And by the way, I do all this not on the iPad. I do all my editing and, continuing the creation of my set list. I do that either on my iMac or my MacBook Pro. Those are just easier devices to work on for me. And again, since I'm using an Apple product and an Apple app, it's updated across the board, so I don't have to worry about it. Number two, let's talk about set lists now. I want to give you some tips on how to create and manage your set list here. So you need a set list for each set, obviously. And the way it works for me is usually my gigs are 3 to 4 hours long. So for a 4-hour gig, well, I need 4 set lists because I take a break on the hour about every hour. And what I'll do, guys, real quick is I'll play for the first full hour, then I'll take a 10 or 15 minute break, then I'll go back and play again. On that hour, I'll take another 10-15 minute break and so forth. So you've got that first set as 1 hour, and then the sets thereafter will typically be about 45 to 50 minutes. So for a 4-hour show, which actually I just played 2 back-to-back 4-hour shows Friday and Saturday night of the weekend, I'm putting this out there, 4-hour show, obviously you need 4 set lists. What I'm going to recommend to you is to keep creating set lists, okay? Number one, this is going to give you more variety because a lot of times you might play different songs or different styles depending on the venue that you're playing at, okay? Secondly, and this is really important here, guys, you don't want the staff to get tired of hearing the same songs over and over. Sure, new folks are showing up at the venue you're playing at each time, but if you have gigs like me, I have several gigs to where I play once a month, sometimes more than that. Actually, I just played the same venue 3 times in a row, the venue you saw me at in the beginning of this video, which is the Brass Tap in Lakeland. Really cool place. But I had my show 3 weeks ago, my normal end of the month show that I do. Well, then the following Friday, someone called in sick. So my booking agent called me. He's like, man, somebody just called in. I happened to be free that night, so I took it. And then last Friday night, I played there once again, covering for someone else. That was kind of already pre-planned. So I'm like, I probably need to throw in some different songs here because even though the people coming in are probably new, the staff, I don't want them to get tired of hearing the same stuff. Now, let's talk about the set lists themselves. Each set list, I would say you want to shoot for at least an hour's worth of music, even for the 45-minute sets. Here's one reason why. Well, you might not want to start with that first set list at every show. Remember what we just talked about. Sometimes they may get tired of hearing the same songs in the same order every single time. Well, maybe I want to start out with set 5 Remember, we talked about having multiple set lists. Maybe I want to start set 5. Hey, they haven't heard this or haven't heard in a while, so we'll start with that one. So I want you to expand each set list. Another reason for that, and maybe make each set, an hour and 10 minutes, okay? That's so if you're scrolling through to the next song, you may have one that you want to skip. You may be saying, well, this next song here is kind of a ballad type song, but the crowd is really pumped right now, so I don't want to play a ballad, so you might scroll down to the next song. Well, there's one song you might have eliminated off of that set for that night, for that performance. So you want to have enough in the tank, right? So if you need to scroll past a song or two, you want to have enough songs in the tank so that you can get through that set list. The last point I want to make about your set list, and then we're going to get into tip number 3 where we talk about song choice. But the last point here, and this is really important, guys, you don't want too many songs that sound the same back to back. And playing live shows, live solo shows, you're probably primarily playing acoustic guitar, it's real easy to throw in ballads, and I personally love ballads, especially 80s ballads, especially 80s hairband ballads. I just love them. I eat them up, but the crowd's going to get tired of that really fast. Personally though, I try to go through at least 3, maybe 4 songs that are like more moderate, maybe even upbeat before I play a ballad, and it might be a good idea to not have more than 2 ballads in a row. Again, it depends on the mood and the vibe in the venue at that time, okay? If you're playing to a real low-key audience where things are just kind of brought down a little bit, then maybe playing more ballads that might work better. But if it's on like a Friday night and people just got off work and they're just ready to cut loose, well, you don't want to soften the mood with too many ballads, right? You can play some, okay? And I probably have more ballads than I should, so I'm kind of preaching to the choir here because I love ballads. The second point to that point is you also want to make sure that you don't have too many songs in a row that are in the same key. Now, I transpose all of my songs, okay? There are certain keys that fit your particular range and your style, so I transpose almost every song because I mostly play 80s music. I don't have that range, and I've found that a lot of my songs are in F sharp minor or C sharp minor or E or A. Look through your set list as you're transposing the songs. Arrange your set list in a way to where, okay, you don't have 3 songs in a row in the same key. Now, it's okay to have a couple songs in the same key, but if you have too many in a row in that same key, that can kind of start to sound the same and redundant. So just be aware of that. Don't have too many songs in a row in the same key. Tip number 3, let's talk about song choice. And this may surprise you. My personal method may surprise you. I don't necessarily suggest that you go my route, but when I started doing this, when I started playing these live solo gigs, I felt I had 2 choices. Or 2 paths rather. I could go the path of just playing everything, playing all the crowd favorites and just kind of expanding on the genres and eras and that sort of thing, or go a more narrow path, choosing a particular genre or maybe a few subgenres in there and or a particular era of music as well. I chose the latter, and I'll tell you why, but I chose the latter. My tag is 80s with a side of 70s, and I mainly stick to the rock and a little bit of pop. I probably have like maybe 3 or 4 total country songs on my list. I never really listened to country that much, but I love those songs, the rock and the pop songs. There's not a lot from the 80s that I don't like, and of course I dip into the 70s a little as well. I chose that route because I wanted to play the music that I like to play. When my wife recommended that I start getting out there and doing this and playing live, because I had gone through a period of several years where I didn't really play live as much. So when I started doing this, I'm like, well, wasn't too excited about playing cover songs. I want to play my own music, which you can throw in some of your own stuff here and there. I'll save that for another video. We'll talk about in another video. But I'm like, if I'm going to do this, I'm just going to play the stuff that I like, okay? I'm not going to worry about what they like, and I know that's not always the best path, but it's worked out quite well for me. I started out playing 1 or 2 shows a month. I'm averaging 10 or more shows now per month, and that's about all I want. I don't really want any more than that because this is a part-time thing for me. You guys know my full-time job is really in my studio, making my own music, working on my guitar courses and marketing, and of course doing YouTube videos and a few other things all related to music. So playing these solo gigs is really a part-time thing. So I'm like, well, I'm going to stick to this. I'm going to see if this works. And again, I keep getting called back to the same venues. I'm booked out for the rest of the year. I've got shows already booked out for the entire year of 2023. You know, we're filming this in October 2022, so it's worked out well for me. But that doesn't mean you should go that route. It just depends on what you want to do. The thing about playing everything, trying to be everything to everyone, well, two things about that. You're probably going to have to play some songs that you might not like that much, you know. I've had people request certain songs, and I'm sorry, I don't know that. But what I'll say is I've got something you might like. I used to say, well, I've got something better for you, but that kind of insults their taste. So I don't want to do that. Nowadays I say, well, I've got something kind of close to that you might like. And even if it's not close to that, the fact that you show them, hey, I care about your request, I'm going to try to fulfill it in another way, I think that goes a long way, and you'll still get that tip in the tip jar. The other thing about playing everything, wanting to play, you know, all the hits from all genres and all eras, is of course you're going to have to expand those sets and set lists as well. And if that's something that you want to do, I say go for it. I've got a lot of my buddies that play these live shows as well. We've got a really cool network of people here, and they're all over the map. Now I've got a couple others. Another good friend of mine, you guys seen Brian on the channel, he sticks to mainly country and southern rock. So that works really well for him, whereas I stick to 80s with a side of 70s, more rock, some hairband stuff as well. I'll even sneak in a little, you know, acoustic metal now and then. That's my approach. You just want to be happy doing what you're doing. You don't want it to feel like a job. And some of you love learning new music, different genres and all that. That's your thing. So I say go for it if that's what you want to do. Or you may be like me and you're like, well, I just want to stick to a particular era. There's another guy in the area, he plays like 50s and 60s music and has such a cool vibe. His first name is Dean, and I'll leave some links in the description of this video. But he has such a cool vibe, music that I don't know, but is so different. I'm like, man, this is really awesome. But that's his thing. He sticks to that genre and that era. So again, that might work for you as well. But at the end of the day, I can't stress this enough. Make sure you're going to be playing the music that you like and that you're going to enjoy, whether that's a little bit of everything or whether it's sticking to a particular genre. A few final notes before we end the video. First of all, I hope this video helped you guys. I hope it helps you really dig in and create some really strong set lists and throw some music in there that you really love and you're excited about playing, because that's going to shine through. So I truly hope this video helps you. If you have any questions, please leave a comment. I always read your comments and I appreciate those. Another thing, I am in the middle of creating a video, a large tutorial on how to get started playing these live solo shows. Once that's available, I'll put the link in this video up here. I'll also leave that in the description. So if you don't see it, well, it's not quite ready yet, but I'm working on it. Also, I've got a page on my website that goes to all of the gear, which includes the live gear that I use as well. So if you have questions about like what speaker system do I use, what board and all that, check that link out, and you'll see all the gear that I use, and I'll keep that updated as the gear changes, because I'm actually going to be making some changes which I'll share with you in another video. But that page is always updated with the current gear that I'm using right now. So guys, again, thank you so much for watching this. I truly hope this video helps you. Please give this a thumbs up, by the way, and make sure you're subscribed to my channel. And guys, I will see you on the next video.
Know how much I lean on you, only you can see the changes that I've gone through have left a mark over me. What is constant is my northern star, the brightest light that shines, and it's been you